Welcome to All In for Estacada Schools. We'll be taking an in-depth look into the work, the data, the wins, and the fun that's happening every day in the Estacada School District. And now, your host, Superintendent Ryan Carpenter.
Hey, happy Tuesday and welcome to another All In for Estacada Schools Live right here on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us on a 3 o'clock. I know this time is always tough, so I want to welcome those who are available to join us live today, and I want to welcome those who are watching maybe later this evening when home from work or when time just presents itself to learn a little bit more about the Estacada School District. My name is Ryan Carpenter, and I very proudly serve as the superintendent for the Estacada School District, and this is my 4th year doing so. Hey, I just want to say thank you really quickly to Josh Gray. He is the person that you saw in the intro to this show. Since coming on our team as a multimedia videographer specialist, our video communications have just jumped off of the charts. People inside our school district are just hungrier and hungrier for more video content and communication. And I'm so pleased to be able to offer this service to our parents, our students, and our employees. And it's many great thanks to him and his instant contribution to our school district team. Can you believe that 763 people watched our All In for Estacada Schools podcast just 2 weeks ago? It's amazing the word that's getting out there, and I just greatly appreciate you participating in this communication and allowing us to have a great conversation about how we can work together to make our school district the premier school district that we all want it to be. So just a reminder that the Super 60 Seconds is a short, quick hitter about the big hot topics that are going on inside our school districts in 60 seconds, or in my case, about 2 minutes or less. And this All In for Estacada Schools Facebook Live allows us to take a deeper, more personal dive into understanding the why behind the big decisions and the hot topics inside our school district. This is also a great way and opportunity for me to have the time to sit down and answer the many questions that are coming in our directions, both via email and just in general. And so I encourage you, this is the place. If you have a hot topic question, a comment, or something that you'd like to just ask about the Estacada School District, I'm here, and I'm here for you, and I'm here to serve and try to give you the best answers to my ability as we team together to make this school district great. So with that said, I'm going to do this for a few times until we get the routines down as we do this. We go to the question of the day, which is always fun, and then we'll move into hot topics, and then my favorite part of this show, and that's fact or fiction on social media. So with that said, let's go to the question of the day.
What's your favorite board game?
Wow, didn't see that one coming. My favorite board game. Well, first of all, I'm not really a board game player. I do, I guess, love the occasional card games. But I would say if I had to choose a board game, I've got to go with Monopoly. The original Monopoly, too. It seems like Monopoly's been used in all different functions. I think my kid just got Hunting-opoly just the other day. But Monopoly is always great. As long as you've got 5 or 6 days to play it, all is well. But I sure do love sitting down with my family and playing Monopoly. So that's my favorite board game. I know there's a lot of great board games out there, and if you're feeling up to it, go ahead and put in the chat what your favorite board game is. But for me and the Carpenter family, we really like Monopoly right now. So that's the question of the day. Let's dive deep into those hot topics. Here we go. Okay, so we've got several hot topics coming at you today, and I'm going to try to take a quick shot so that I can cover all of them in a sportsmanlike fashion, so you're not sitting here for a couple hours. But at the same time, I want to make sure that I'm doing a good job of digging deep into those and allowing you to ask good questions in relation to some of the hot topics and some of the big decisions that we're faced with. So many of you received the announcement last week about the test to stay option. I personally am very excited about this option. So what this test to stay option ultimately is it provides parents the choice and opportunity to participate in a COVID test to stay option for their child when they're exposed to the COVID-19 virus. So let me put this in some more simple terms. In the past, if a child was exposed to another child or employee inside the Estacada School District who was deemed positive for COVID-19, that child was required, without any questions asked, to quarantine for 10 days. So that was 10 days out of the classroom, and obviously for safety reasons, to make sure that there was no spread of the coronavirus, but also 10 days away from their friends, 10 days away from their regular learning environment, and 10 days of disruptions to our parents as they were trying to juggle childcare with their own work and personal lives. And of course, we understood the complexity and the disruption between both of those things. We get that. We were very excited to see the state start to move in this direction. And so ultimately what the test to stay new rules mean is that if a child is exposed, unvaccinated, to the COVID-19 virus, on day one of notice of exposure, the school district can test that child, and if they test negative in that day one COVID test, then they can stay in school and continue just as they were not a day ago when they were just doing their normal daily classroom routines. And then, of course, the parents and the school district will monitor for COVID-like symptoms on day 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then sometime between day 5 and 7, the child must test again. And if that child tests negative, then they can continue on without any quarantining processes in place. This is fantastic for the student. This is fantastic because one of the major arguments of not only parents inside our community, but our school district and its employees as well, is we were treating people differently who were vaccinated and unvaccinated. If it's a vaccinated student, they don't have to quarantine at all. They just have to monitor for symptoms. If they're an unvaccinated student, then they were required to quarantine for 10 days, no questions asked. Now, the reason why I really like this new rule is it treats everybody the same. Vaccinated or unvaccinated, kids have the opportunity to stay in school, minimize the impact to their learning experiences, and continue to monitor for COVID-like symptoms. The only difference is the unvaccinated need to take this test. Again, this is a rule that we need to follow, but at the end of the day, it comes back to parent choice. And so you have the choice if you want to participate in this test to stay option. I know I've encountered several parents who have both written to me an email, and I've gotten the opportunity to meet with face-to-face that are adamantly opposed to the school district testing their child with a COVID-19 test, or they're just opposed to testing in general. Hey, that's okay. That's your opinion, and that's your call to make. And the Estacada School District supports your choice in that matter. We're thankful that you have a choice. And so at the end of the day, you can choose to have your child tested so that they can stay in school. However, if you choose not to use a school test, you have two options. One is to quarantine your child for 10 days and not participate in any tests at all. That's your choice. Or just hot off the press today. In fact, this is brand new news. You also can do an at-home test. A week ago, when this new test to stay was being implemented at the school levels, they were telling us that there was only 3 acceptable tests, one at school, one at a clinic, or one at a vaccination facility like the Clackamas County Fairgrounds. They since now have opened that up to at-home tests too. So you can have the choice to say, no thank you, school. I do not want you to take this test. I will come and pick up my kid, and I'll take them. I'll either order my own at-home tests, or I'll take them to high school pharmacy. I'm hoping they do tests, or some other local area. Get your child tested, present the school district with a negative test, and they can come back to school uninterrupted. And so there's a lot of choice in this. I'm very excited about that, and I think that's important for you to understand. And so again, just to kind of talk a little bit about that, and just to re-clarify the test to stay, if your child is exposed, the school is going to notify you. And we've tried to come up with a super awesome, innovative, unobtrusive way, and it's via text message. So here's what I'm proud of, and we're piloting, because by the way, this is our 2nd day in the test to stay process, and at this point, 0 kids have been tested, 0 kids have been identified as being in close contact, and that's thumbs up, and that's a great that's a great attribute to the great systems and structures that we have in place to keep our schools safe. Nonetheless, if your child was exposed, you will receive a text message on your phone that your child, and we've got the name, we'll just say Johnny for now, your child Johnny was exposed. We would like Johnny to participate in a COVID-19 test. Do we have your permission? And then you can, in the text message, either text yes to test or no to test. If you text yes to test, then we'll get started right away in giving your child that unobtrusive COVID test. And if they test negative, we'll let you know about it, and we'll send them on back to class. If they test positive, we'll let you know about it so you can come and pick them up and take care of them in the appropriate way. If you choose no to test, that's okay too. We're not going to do anything. We'll just have your child patiently wait in the office for you or your guardian or emergency contact to come and pick them up and participate in the protocols. And so with that said, I'm excited about this. The communication is going to try to be fast and efficient, but we're always available for personal phone calls too. So if you need to slow down the process, or if you have questions, or you just need to talk to someone, then call your child's building secretary. They stand ready to serve and support and answer any questions that you need as we work through this process together. But things are starting to open up for us. I'm very excited that we're able to safely keep our schools open and limit the disruption to learning as we move forward together. So that is an update for our test to stay hot topic and the direction that we're headed there. I will pause for a second to ask our Director of Communications, Maggie Kelly, do we have any questions that's come in so far about test to stay or anything we've discussed so far?
Thanks, Superintendent Carpenter. We do have a couple of questions that have flowed in, and I want to encourage our viewers to keep those questions coming. Our first question is the testing data that occurs during test to stay shared outside of the school? Do we share it with any other entities?
Great question, and the answer is no, we do not. That test is really a one-timer, and it's to indicate a plus or a negative. And then after that, that test is thrown away. We do not necessarily communicate that with local public health or anything else. We just test the child, we inform the parent, and then obviously for our own data purposes, not outside data purposes, for our own data purposes, we log that, but that's only to tell us to keep track of day 1 and day 5 and 7 through the monitoring process. It's for no other reason than that. So my best answer, which is an honest answer, is no. This is all pretty kept in-house, and really the whole purpose of this is just to mitigate the spread of the virus inside our school setting. It's for no other data collection purposes than that. So subject to change if we're directed to change that, and I'll be the first to let you know about that. But at this time, it's just to bring the child in, make sure that they're not positive so that we can send them back to class. And of course, we'll communicate with families through the whole entire process. Thank you for that question.
I do want to mention also, the privacy of your students' information is very important to us. Even if your student did test positive for COVID-19 and we had to inform others that their children needed to quarantine as a result of that exposure, we still keep your child's name out of the process. We just inform families that there was a COVID-19 exposure. Our next question is, what proof do families need to present if they choose to go the route of a home test for test to stay?
Yeah, great question. And that's something we're still working on because this new change just came literally about an hour and a half ago. But I think as long as we can find a good system, and again, we're trying to be innovative through the text messaging system and through different just electronic systems. So I imagine at some point, hopefully sooner than later, you'll be able to just take a picture of that positive and or negative test and then submit that, hopefully via phone or email, and we'll just log that as evidence that that you have sent that. Again, we're not really focused on policing this. We're going to have to use some good faith and some trust between each other that we're going to do this in the right ways to make sure that we're keeping kids safe and that we're not exposing kids to the virus. But I'm hopeful that we'll be able to just do a simple electronic communication, allowing you to say, my child is negative, here's the picture of the test, and we'll say thank you. Can't wait to see him tomorrow or later this afternoon. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Superintendent Carpenter. And this is very breaking news, so if we have any additional information that comes out from local public health, we will, of course, update that accordingly in the Facebook comment section so that you are updated on this very breaking news. So that is all the questions we have at this time.
All right, great. So our next hot topic is really focused on a big decision that our great elected school board of directors made last week at the school board meeting. I'm so proud of this team for working diligently, thoughtfully, and with an open mind to listen to the needs of the community and move our school district forward, really in a future-focused manner that I'm just really proud and pleased of them working as a team together. So in case you haven't heard, the Executive Board of Directors voted last Thursday to approve the installation of an artificial playing surface field, a turf field basically, at Buzz Randall Stadium, which is behind Estacada Middle School and is the home of our varsity football and men's and women's soccer programs. And it's going to be soon to be a lot more after the installation of this turf. I think it's really important to say two things. The first is this was a major safety concern that the school district needed to address immediately. And when I say safety concern, I mean it. So in the end of this school year, 3 playoff games had to be moved to different locations because our fields were deemed unsafe and unplayable by the officials' associations. This was a tremendous blow to our athletic programs as well as to our community who comes down to support Estacada's kids. These playoff games is what every child sets their goals for when they grow up through our athletic system inside of Estacada. And so for us to have to move those games because our surfaces were deemed not playable is really quite unacceptable, in my opinion, in the year 2021. But this is not just something that happened just this year because of wet weather. Over the course of the last 5 years, we've had tremendous problems with this field, including injuries, concussions, games being canceled and rescheduled due to its playability. And we've had to ration the time spent on those fields because we would just shred the thing after only a couple of uses. And so it was really no longer a safe playing surface. And that is a true detriment to today's kids coming through our system, let alone the future that we're trying to prepare us for. So safety was a number one driving factor inside of our decision to move towards replacing the field. The second reason that we wanted to focus on this is because we needed to invest now into this facility, and we're doing so with capital construction funds. So the second real important thing I want to talk about is how the Estacada School Board and the district are choosing to pay for this project. These monies are not coming out of the classroom to buy this turf field. They are not coming out of the pockets of our teachers or employees to pay for this field. And so it's very important to note that first. I know that there's going to be a lot of people in our community who desire that the Estacada School District spends its money differently. And you're entitled to that opinion. There's no recourse or second guessing in your opinion of how public funds should be spent. We know that there are millions of dollars, in fact, tens of millions of dollars of need to fix our facilities inside this school district. In the last 6 or 7 years, we've asked the community to invest through 2 different construction bond campaigns to invest into some of those tens of millions that really need that upgrade and improvement to be true 21st century learning environments. But at the end of the day, we're trying to chip away at the things that are most impactful. And a turf field has been in that top 10 list of major things that we needed to invest in. And so we've been replacing our roofs. We've been upgrading our HVAC systems to support the health and safety of our kids as we open up. And so it was time for our investment to go in this specific direction. So we have been making upgrades, and we will continue to make upgrades on the things that are most important. And we have a list of things. We're not just making these up. There is a master list of our facilities of things that we need to chip away at, and the turf field was one of them. Now let's talk about capital construction funds and where they come from. So what's cool is Estacada is a growing community, and there are a lot of new houses that are being built in all different neighborhoods, as well as a lot of people are refinancing to remodel their homes, add square footage to their homes. And in Clackamas County, anytime you file a building permit, the county taxes the individual $1 per square foot. So if we're building a 4,000 square foot home, you do the math in terms of what tax that is that goes to the Estacada School District at $1 per square foot. So over the last 10 years, the Estacada School District has received between $200,000 and $350,000 a year in construction excise tax from the city of Estacada and Clackamas County. So over the course of time, this tax has been placed in a capital construction fund, and thanks to the great wise saving of our school board over the course of the last 10 years, that fund has grown to roughly $2.5 million. And so we now have decided to allocate some of that $2.5 million towards the investment of a turf field inside our school district. So you can see here in this next slide, I have broken down for you what the cost of the new turf field looks like. And so you can see a rough estimate of the concrete work for Buzz Randall Stadium to be roughly $74,000. The earthwork, by the way, we've got to take out about 5 feet of dirt to bring that big crown all the way back down to grade level. That's roughly, looks like a little bit, $200,000 in rough math. And then the turf material and the drainage itself is roughly $1.1 million, bringing the whole scope of this project to $1.3 million. Now, the good news is, and I'm so pleased about this, and I've had so many conversations with local community members over the course of really the last 3 or 4 weeks. And here's what I love about the Estacada community. And I've lived here for 11 years myself, and I have fallen in love with this aspect. The Estacada community is a hardworking community. There's not a lot of people in our community that can just write a $100,000 check or can write a $1 million check. That's not the community that we live in. Westland Wilsonville is different. They can write those checks. Lake Oswego can write those checks. The Estacada community and Eagle Creek community cannot write those checks. But what the Estacada and Eagle Creek community can do is they can come to the field with tons of heavy equipment. There are so many people who are willing to volunteer their dump truck, their excavator, their front loaders, and so many different pieces of equipment that we've been able to start compiling an army of volunteers to help us offset the cost of this $1.3 million project. And I want to commend our school board of directors to starting to bridge those people to help us. And so we truly are confident at this point that we're going to be able to carve out a lot of the earthwork funds and a lot of the drainage just through local in-kind donations. And I just want to tremendously thank our community for, again, rising to the occasion, not necessarily by writing a check, but coming with their equipment to help us as we try to make this an affordable project to set us up for the long-term future. And so I just kind of wanted to share with you kind of what we're thinking about that. And this is, again, a deep dive. I know I've been talking a lot, but this is a deep dive into some of the hot topics and our issues. And the last slide I want to share with you about this turf field, because I think it's important to note. Right now, the Estacada School District uses the high school football field and soccer field for roughly 8,000 hours a year. By moving to a turf field is going to allow us to have the ability to practice on this field for 20,000 hours a year. So just the increase of the ability for kids and the community to use this field over time is going to drastically pay for itself. Artificial turf also reduces concussions, it reduces knee injuries, and a whole bunch of other assortments of safety issues. And so our field with this investment is going to be safer, and it's going to allow more people to access a high-quality turf field, and it's going to allow our athletic programs to remain competitive at the state level. And so I'm very proud of this decision. This decision was not made lightly. There was a lot of great conversation, deliberation, and numbers that led to this great vote, and it allowed us to make an adjustment and improvement into our overall facilities. And so I'm excited about the turf field. I look forward to having more conversations about it, and I hope that as we talk about the why we made this decision, that you'll support us as we move forward with this investment. It is easy to say, well, instead of buying a turf field, you should have bought this. Or instead of the turf field, you should have done that. We understand that, and it's easy to make those opinions and those estimations, and you're not wrong in making them. This was a tough decision, and this is the way that we decided to go as a team. I'm excited that the decision was made as a team, and I hope that you'll join our team as we move forward to enhance the overall experience for Estacada's kids today and in our future. So with that said, Maggie, is there any questions about the turf field that I can possibly address?
Yeah, thank you, Superintendent Carpenter. And this is exciting stuff. You know, we toured around the district listening to student voice, community voice, and looking at that data. And students really told us that this field upgrade is going to have an impact on their daily lives. So really exciting to be able to have that impact, even as we make tough choices necessitated out of not having a bond passage. Our first question was, why did we decide to do the field located by the middle school instead of the field and track that is behind the Estacada High School?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And I've been here long enough to know, and I can tell you that there actually are plans that have been drawn up and created to turn behind the high school and that track field into the main stadium field. And I don't think that dream or vision has gone away just yet. Although I will also say that Buzz Randall Stadium has deep historical roots inside our community, and that's also a very important field for the generations of people who played on it and grew up there. My answer is simply this. We chose to invest in that field due to its history and sentiment, but also because it was cheaper. in order for us to turn the track field into a main field for varsity play is going to require additional millions of dollars in stadium work. We just don't have the capacity to seat the amount of people to come out who would watch and or support varsity level athletics like the current stadium that's in place there. In order to turn the track field into a main field, it would require us to pass a bond up to about $5 to $8 million would need to be spent on the renovation of that area, parking that goes into there, the pathways to get the volumes of people in and out, and then obviously the capacity to seat them and support them. And so that financial perspective played a role in it. It did come up. We did talk about it. But at the end of the day, too, it's important to note that it is our plans to also turf that field at some point. The more fields that we can artificially turf is the more use and opportunity that can support that. And so in our long-term plan, we're going to come back to that, and we hope that the community will support us in being able to turf that field as well. But we just can't afford that out of the accounts that we're using. We've chosen to invest in this field, and we hope to come back to that in the near future to turf that as well. So I hope I answered that question. It was mainly a financial and capacity decision, but there are plans to turn that field into something bigger than it currently is now. It just costs a lot of money.
Thank you, Superintendent Carpenter, and that is a compelling difference in the cost breakdown. So this decision, really makes some sense. Another question we saw a photo mock-up of what a new field could look like. Do we have any plans to put the Ranger mascot on the field, and what are your thoughts behind that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's been discussed. And again, the picture that I shared with you there is just a rendering. We still have some work to do with our community and our kids on say as to what that looks like, as well as the cost. Every customized stitch inside a turf field is going to cost money too, and so we need to know what graphics and that kind of things cost. I'm open to a conversation about the Ranger mascot being there. The thing I like is most of our school teams have adopted the Ranger Star as their general graphic, and so that general Ranger Star seems to be the most commonly used logo that we're using right now. Of course, Ranger Rick is near and dear to all of our hearts, and if there was a compelling argument to keep Ranger Rick there, then I'm all for that. I do think Ranger Rick on that turf, just the artwork and the stitching alone would be very expensive. But at this point, the star seems to be the most commonly used logo for our varsity athletics, and so that's where our starting point is. But we are open to the conversation because at the end of the day, we want this field to reflect our community's values. This is no different.
All right, thank you, Superintendent Carpenter. It looks like that's all the questions we have at this time, but audience, keep them coming, and Superintendent Carpenter will move on and looks forward to answering further questions later on.
Okay, great. My final hot topic, which should be shorter, but it's important to talk about, especially as we go into the deep winter months, and that is inclement weather and virtual snow days. So our Executive Director of Operations, Mike Ware, who's an incredible leader inside our school district, has started to inform our leaders that snow is coming more frequently in the forecast. In fact, up to and including tomorrow morning being a potential day for some snow disruptions. This morning we were up at 5 o'clock in the morning driving the roads and made the determination to have normal operation schools. We knew it was slippery out there, but our transportation department believed that we were able to transport kids safely. And we were able to do so. A lot of our buses were just a little bit later than normal, and I'd rather be late and us take our time and be safe, but still open our schools for education. So I was very pleased with the decision that our team made today. Colton, as you saw, our neighbor school district, ended up with a 3-hour late day, and so their roads had to have been a little bit slicker. But proud of our day today, but there is a potential that we may have to alter our school operations tomorrow due to the weather. And so I just wanted to let our parents know who are watching both live and who might watch this later that it is our intention to move, instead of closing the day for school due to snow, we're just going to pivot to a virtual learning day. Our teachers are ready to go. Our systems are set up and ready to go. We have made contact with every family that doesn't have the internet, and we've provided them with a hotspot, or we've partnered with Reliance Connects to turn on their internet. And so we're confident that every child inside our school district has the ability to access school when moving to a virtual school day. We're very excited for the opportunity to move in this direction. We've never truthfully done it. We did obviously the virtual school in the quarantine, but to move in a snow day we've never truly done it, even though that's the platform we built our virtual school day on last during the COVID time. And so I just want to let folks know that we're ready to execute that, and we hope that you're making plans for that as well. It's important to know, though, and I wanted to share this, tomorrow is Wednesday, which is a typical early release day. And I wanted to just kind of share how we make that decision for inclement weather. So obviously we start driving the roads about 4:45, 5 o'clock in the morning. And there's really two factors that play into the role of should we have school or not. And that is, can we safely transport students on our yellow school buses from their house to our school buildings? And what are the conditions for our teenage drivers? Okay, we've got lots of high school kids who are driving their cars to school, and that plays a factor as well. Those are the two main factors. If we deem that the driving roads the roads are in a condition that are not able for our buses to roll in a safe way, or we don't think it's safe for kids to be driving their vehicles to school, we'll make that determination. But we always start with a 2-hour delay first. So our first move is, hey, these roads are not safe now. Should we wait 2 hours for the conditions to improve and then have school? So that's the first move we always go to, is we go from normal operations to 2-hour late to then we're going to close down our school facilities and move to a virtual learning day is really the third option. The reason why I share that with you is because tomorrow is an early release day, which means the school day is already condensed. And so I just wanted to share with you that on Wednesdays, we will never have a 2-hour late day, because that really just gets the kids there for about an hour or two, and then we send them right back. And so on Wednesdays or early release days, we'll go from normal operations to virtual school, and those will really be our two options. The only option that would truthfully close school in this new era of schools that we're living is if there's no electricity. Obviously, if our kids can't access the internet, then they can't access school, and so we would close school completely for no power. However, if it's just a snow day, we're going to move to online learning, and we're going to have a great, fun day together as a team. And our first day is not going to be perfect. By no means do I believe that this is going to be the Stanford University of snow day schools. I'm just excited for our teachers to be able to check in with kids, to give kids the opportunity to access their learning and to keep the momentum going on the school year that we're doing. There will be time for kids to go out and play in the snow. There will be time for kids to go out and do their thing and just have fun. By no means do I expect this to be like super duper rigorous. This is an opportunity for teachers to check in, an opportunity for kids to keep learning the things that they're working on currently in school, so they can come back to school and we can keep the train going on the tracks. And I'm looking forward to that. But it won't be perfect, and so we'll keep making improvements as it goes, and that's my commitment to you on that. So I hope that clarifies a little bit. Normal operations to 2 hours late to virtual school day is how we look at that. It's my promise to you that that decision will always be made by 5:30 in the morning, giving you and your family the necessary time to make adjustments accordingly. So we'll see. We'll see if tomorrow is a virtual snow day or not, but it's going to be there. And I also want to remind people, if you don't hear anything from the school, that means it's a normal day. We will contact you only if there's a change to the day. So if you don't hear anything from us, you can assume that your buses are going to be on time, there are no snow routes, and everything's moving in normal operations. Maggie, any questions on inclement weather?
We didn't have any questions come in on inclement weather, but I'll keep an eye on it. We did have one more question come in about the turf field, and
Great.
I will answer it a little bit and then turn it over to you as well. It was, how are we going to balance students' needs for variety in their playing surfaces? Will they still be able to have access to grass and turf, specifically in relation to soccer, because we know it affects those soccer players? And I will answer that briefly. We talked with a lot of soccer athletes and their coaches while this decision was being made, and a lot of soccer athletes expressed their frustration with their inability to have any access to turf. When we look at the 4A competitors that were really successful this year, like Gladstone, they all have access to turf. So our soccer players not having any access to practice on turf was really a detriment to them, which is really hard for us to stomach. Knowing that we are not able to provide competitive facilities for our students is difficult. We will still have grass practice fields, which our students will be able to have that variety, which will be great for them. Another thing that we are having a problem with on our grass practice fields is that they are over capacity at this time. They are very muddy, in poor condition. So when we do have a turf field, that will kind of alleviate some of the stress on the practice field, so they'll have better conditions, but also still variety to practice in. Superintendent Carpenter, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, other than I agree that the ball rolls differently on grass than it does on turf. And we've got a lot of grass opportunities for our kids to practice on and play in between the baseball fields and the varsity softball fields. And we've cultivated an additional 20 acres in the back, kind of towards the bus barn. That'll be all grass field as well. So there'll be, with this investment, there'll be a multitude of opportunities for kids to be able to practice on both surfaces. As Maggie talked about, because there wasn't an opportunity for our kids to practice on turf, they used the gym floor as the closest substitute for practicing. And if you think about a soccer field and preparing to play against, a top soccer team in the state, the gymnasium size doesn't really do us much help and support to preparing for battle against some of the top teams. And the same goes for our football team. Our fields were in such bad shape that the last two big playoff games, they practiced on the gym, inside the gymnasium. And again, it's just such a disservice to our kids. So I appreciate you asking that question. And the answer is yes, they'll have multiple opportunities. But it also just highlights some of the disadvantages our kids have had because we haven't invested in this yet. Great question. So with that said, let's move to my favorite part. Thanks for hanging in there. There's a lot of hot topics, and so if you're still here with us live, you are amazing. Thank you for that. Now let's get to the juicy stuff. Let's head to social media, and let's talk fact or fiction. Okay, so this is always my favorite one, and it's a great one to end. And as we know, social media at times has its opportunities for trustworthy news, and it's got its times where things are just outright wrong. I've got two fact or fictions that I want to share with you today that I think are fun, but at the same time requires me to address to make sure that the right answers are being spread throughout our community and not necessarily the long run. So here's number one, fact or fiction. The Estacada School District has planned to remove snow days to suck the fun out of everything. Ouch, that one hurts. So no, that is fiction. Our intention to cut snow days to suck the fun out of everything really did not play into that decision-making process. We still want kids to have fun on snow days, and our virtual snow days should be built around kids and families still having the opportunity to have fun. What's most important for us is we want to keep the learning going. We want to keep the relationships going. We want to keep the learning going. And so when a snow day occurs, our teachers are going to be providing opportunities for kids in a lot of different fashions to keep the learning going, to check in with their teachers, to check in with their friends at school, have the opportunity to engage in the learning that's going on but still have the opportunity to go have fun. If your kid is in school online from 8 o'clock in the morning all the way to 3:30 in the afternoon without any breaks, then we're doing this wrong too. That's not the intention. The intention is for us to keep it going, but still allow kids to have fun on those snow days. Our first one will not be perfect, and we'll get better and better and better as we do it. But we do want you to have fun. We want you to get out there and have a great time, but we also want to keep the learning going. And here's the very serious thing that might be controversial, but I want to say it anyway because it's just true. In the past, if we canceled school on tomorrow, for example, we would make that day up at the end of the school year. And I'm telling you that to keep the school going on December 15th, that's a better school day than having that same school day moved all the way back to June 18th. Usually that's when families are starting to shut things down. That's when teachers are just doing celebration things and celebrating a great year with their kids. And the learning is not as big of a priority as it is right now because we're graduating kids to the next level. The learning occurs right now. I do not want to sacrifice a great learning day to move it to the end. This is when the learning should happen, and we want to make sure that we keep the momentum going through this process. So I hope you'll support us in that. We are very serious about learning. We are very serious about guaranteeing that each child will demonstrate proficiency in all of their essential learning standards. But we're also serious about fun too, and we want to make sure that that's still able to be had even on a snow day. All right, our next fact or fiction. Number 2. Was money embezzled from a fund for a swimming pool in our schools? That's a great question. And this actually goes before my time here in this school district, but I do know quite a bit about it. And so I will answer this for you. No, there was no money embezzled from a fund for a swimming pool in our schools. In fact, there is no swimming pool money for the Estacada School District. I believe what this post is referring to is the community. Once upon a time, and it wasn't that long ago, 15, 20 years ago, there was funds being raised to build a community swimming pool inside the Estacada School District. And believe it or not, every penny, to my knowledge, of that money still exists. However, because the community has decided at this point to pause its plans for building a swimming pool, that money has been invested, and it's now called the Estacada Community Foundation. And so every dollar that's been raised for this community pool is invested, and each year the interest is drawn and it's distributed to different local clubs and groups. And it's run by a board, and that board listens to and accepts applications for all these different local groups, the art groups. Estacada Schools has submitted some things that helped build the indoor hitting facility with the baseball team and softball team is one example. And so that money still exists. It hasn't been embezzled. It's now called the Estacada Community Foundation, and they do great things with that money to continue to support great community clubs and activities. So unless there's something I am unaware of, this is where your pool money is, and this is what it's doing right now. So fact or fiction, I guess that one's more of a question than it is fact or fiction. And I would say that to my knowledge, there has been no embezzlement in the swimming pool money. The swimming pool money never belonged to the school district. It was always a community thing, and that money still exists. And each year, the interest from that money is supporting local clubs and events. And it's overseen by a board of people who allocate the funds for that money. So fact or fiction is fun. I hope this helps. This is the conclusion of this part of it. So now is time to do some question and answers. I'll take any questions and I'll take any answers. But at the end of the day, Maggie, is there some things that we can continue to address?
Thank you, Superintendent Carpenter. You know, I always learn something new during these All In Live episodes, and I hope our community does too. At this time, I think you did a great job addressing and answering a lot of questions. We have no more questions at this time, but as always, drop questions in the comment section later, and we will get to them as they come up, even if we're not in All In Live. Superintendent Carpenter, if there's anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up today?
No, I just am continually surprised at the amount of people who watch this throughout the week. Even if you're not watching live, if you're watching this later, just thank you. Thank you for being involved in your schools. Thank you for having opinions about what your schools should be, and thank you for sharing them with us. The whole purpose of this is to open our doors for communication. We're a big ship, and we're not perfect, and we need your input and your feedback, and we're trying our best to make this school district the best that it can be. So thank you so much for being a part of it. We are committed to making this school district successful. We are committed to it reflecting the values of our community, and I hope that you have a great Christmas and holiday season. This is our last All In until we return back from the winter break, but from your superintendent, I would like you to know that I am very pleased with the start to our school year, and I'm very proud of each and every single one of our employees who have rolled up their sleeves amid so many challenges to serve and support your child and Estacada's kids with love and support. And this is just an amazing school district. I could not be more proud to work in it. I could not be more proud to live in it. And I could not be more proud to send my own children to be educated inside this school district. So have a great winter break from my family to yours. And I can't wait to see you when we return as we continue to put high student outcomes and learning as the top priority for our school district. Have a great day.